following is an exclusive presentation of Ravens Productions.
What's up, Ravens fans? Welcome into a fresh edition of Ravens Unscripted. As always, coming to you from the lovely Under Armour Performance Studios. Well, an overtime loss to the AFC's top team leaves us with a lot to sort through, and to help me do so, we've got Garrett Downing and Ryan Mink of Ravens Media and Luke Jones of WNST back with us on the Unscripted couch. Guys, good to be with you. Let's start with 4 downs. Kind of like final exam season, grades are starting to come out for students. Garrett, we'll start with you. The grade that you would give this Ravens team after what was a valiant effort against a really talented Chiefs squad.
I mean, I think the final grade is probably A minus, B plus. You came really close, but obviously didn't totally pass the test. I mean, what I'm taking away from this game is that the Ravens showed to me that they can play with any team in the NFL. They went to one of the most hostile environments in the league and played one of, if not the best team in the NFL, as close as you could possibly play a team. Now, with that said, the second part of this is that you've got to find a way to win close games. That could be a big play on offense. That could be coming up with a stop on 4th and 9 defensively. The Ravens have shown that they can play with the best, but that they have trouble closing out these tight games. And that's where I sort of see this team right now, is they may have to go to LA in a couple of weeks and play just as tough of a game, but they got to find a way to win it.
Remember high school exams? Multiple choice,
Were you a
true,
teacher
false.
at one point?
I was.
So he's very comfortable
choice,
handing out grades.
True, false, fill in the blank, short answer, you did great. You're on your way to an A. You get to the essay at the end, and it didn't quite go the way you wanted it to. I'll give the Ravens a B, but I agree with what you said, Garrett. Moral victories, and I know Terrell Suggs isn't big on that. The Ravens proved that they can go into a hostile environment, hopefully in January if things go well for them, and compete, and then you see what happens in the fourth quarter and hope you finish this time.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at it frankly. The Ravens should have won that game. I mean, maybe Aaron Rodgers is the only other quarterback that makes that play on 4th and 9 other than Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes played, Andy Reid said it was his best game of the year. It was the best game I've ever seen a quarterback play, maybe. I mean, he was out of his mind. And so, I mean, yeah, the Ravens played him well. Terrell Suggs had the ball in his hands when Mahomes just dropped it. I mean, how many plays can you point to that in that game where you say, if that one little thing goes the Ravens' way, they win? And the sad part is there's been so many plays and moments like that. It's like the Ravens just can't get that lucky bounce when they need it. So they have to be even better to overcome that.
Well, I think what it also is, guys, is this is the case for most teams in the NFL. The Chiefs are really an outlier in this regard. The margin for error is very small. So in those moments, you have to make that play, and you can't, and that's what separates winners from losers. Let's get to second down here, and with this defense, you mentioned that 4th and 9 play. Luke, I'll give you a first crack at this. You've been watching football for a long time. First of all, how did you view that play? Was that something that Tyreek Hill and Mahomes did, or this Ravens defense didn't do?
I think it's more of the former. I mean, Patrick Mahomes was a sorcerer on that play. I mean, we've seen the Ravens suffer against Ben Roethlisberger in the past in similar instances, but he was the best player on the field. The second best player on the field in that moment was Tyreek Hill. So you can't let Tyreek Hill shake free when you get into those scramble drills, but I think it's much more what they did than what the Ravens didn't do.
I'm going to have to see the aerial view on it because I really have to watch what everybody was doing and kind of dissect the play.
Go all 22 on it, huh?
Yeah, I'm kind of waiting for that
Mink
to
gets
really.
his coach's clicker out.
Yeah. I mean,
Dark room.
You see me.
You and Harbs do that together, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Every Tuesday night?
Exactly. But, like when I go back and watch the 4th and 12 play from the Bengals, and you're just like, oh, what was so-and-so doing on this play? I wonder if there was something like that in this. But I completely agree with you. It was an absurd play. C.J. Mosley chased Tyreek Hill, one of the fastest players in the league. Here's an inside linebacker chasing a wide receiver all over the field and then dives and barely misses it. So I have to tip my hat to the Chiefs more than I do blame the Ravens.
How about overall defense? I mean, obviously you can chime in on this as well, but the defensive performance yesterday.
Well, the defense was great for 88.5 minutes yesterday. I mean, that's the reality of it. They kept Tyreek Hill pretty much in check for most of the game. Then all of a sudden he goes off on that play, picks up 48 yards, and then he had another couple catches in overtime. So the numbers end up getting skewed. You see the final numbers. You see 377 passing yards for Patrick Mahomes. But if you get that one stop, it's a totally different tale. They got to Mahomes. They brought pressure on him. He got hit more than he has
They made
the
him look
entire
really
season.
uncomfortable, like for the first time all season.
Yeah, they flustered. They pushed him out of the pocket a little bit. They made him have to improvise. They got an interception. So I think the defense, to me, checked a lot of boxes, but it still comes down to, at the end of a game, you've got to find a way to win it. I agree. I think sometimes you chalk it up to great players make great plays. And that's what happened. But at the same time, I think you got to look at it. You say a quarterback heaved the ball 40 yards down the middle of the field. Somebody's got to be there to knock it down and make that play.
And I hate to say this, and I think it's one of those things where it's almost like the second time through on a batting order, you're going to recognize that's what Patrick Mahomes does. And I think the first time you play him, it's jarring that he's able to make those plays. I'd be curious when and if Baltimore gets a chance to play him again, whether it's this season or in seasons to come, that they're more prepared for what you can only recognize in person and not on tape.
Yeah, but it's like Ben improvised so much, and can you ever stop it? I mean, how long has he done it against us?
I guess so. But Mahomes is doing it,
Yeah.
in my opinion, a different way. Third down, Lamar Jackson. I think with this sample size, it's really an appropriate time to evaluate what he is and where he is and whether he's the guy that should be leading this team moving forward, because we saw what he did in the 3 wins. This was his biggest challenge, and you could argue it may have been one of his better games.
Yeah, I thought he played a pretty good game. I mean, going into into Arrowhead Stadium was a lot different than playing in Atlanta the week prior. I mean, just a totally different environment for him, and cold. This is the coldest game he may have ever played in. So that environment was really a test, and I thought he handled himself well. I mean, it could have been a scenario where he really came unglued, and he didn't. You know, I mean, he ran the ball well. He ran the offense well. They still controlled the clock to a degree. They lost time possession, but they did well. They moved the ball. He made some throws. He missed some throws. That's always going to happen, I think, with Lamar. But, you know, when it came down to it, I think that you give him a pretty solid grade.
Yeah, I thought all in all it was a good game. I mean, I agree with what you said. And I've been saying since the Ravens beat the Bengals and he first moved into the starting lineup that he should be the guy moving forward. And I still kind of stand by that. We'll see how his ankle is over the course of this week and how that progresses. But I think that the way this team is right now, I still believe that their best formula is to play a run-heavy style of offense where they control the clock, where they limit possessions, they allow their defense to be aggressive and get after people and stay fresh at the end of games. And I think that Lamar Jackson, a quarterback, gives them the best opportunity to do all of those things. So I think that he's passed just about every test. I mean, look, they scored and they went up late in that game. The defense had to hold. Now, it wasn't exactly a long drive that he marched the field. You know, Cyrus Jones set him up for the touchdown, but he finished the job.
Yeah,
and I think
it was a nice throw to Smokey on that touchdown.
And I think that he deserves a lot of credit for going into that atmosphere and putting his team up with 4 minutes left and then saying to the defense, you guys got to go hold it here.
Well, the sack strip wasn't his fault either. I mean,
yeah, I agree.
He got blind, so anybody gets sacked in that situation.
Fourth down, Luke, you're up first here. Can the Ravens make the playoffs? I think we can say, yes, they can. How do you best sort of handicap it or see it laying itself out here over the next 3 weeks?
I mean, I think it's very simple. They're going to be scoreboard watching. I mean, that's inevitable. They're going to go into week 17, whether it's the division or the number 6 seed in the AFC, looking at what other teams are doing. Take care of your business at home. Beat Tampa Bay, beat Cleveland, and then see what happens against the Chargers in a game that maybe isn't quite as imposing on paper as Kansas City, but it's still going to be very challenging because I think that's a great team. So win 2 out of 3, get to 9-7, and their tiebreaker scenarios
I was going to say,
are
guys, if
pretty
you could
good
help
overall.
us out with the tiebreakers for those that don't follow this on an
I need my
hour-to-hour
cheat sheet.
basis.
Well, 2 of the Ravens' losses came against the NFC, so that means that's a better AFC record than maybe compared to some of these other foes.
Because you're talking Colts, Dolphins now,
Right.
Titans.
They didn't play the Colts. They didn't play the Dolphins. They have a head-to-head tiebreaker against the Broncos and the Titans, who are also in the mix. So it depends on how many teams are there and what different scenarios you go down.
Garrett, quickly, better or worse after Kansas City?
Here's what I'll say. I think that the Ravens' best path to the playoffs is the division, which would mean a home playoff game. The Steelers still have to face the Saints. They still have to face the Patriots. I think that there's a very decent chance they lose both of those games. The Ravens go 2-1. The Steelers lose both. The Ravens have a home playoff game, which nobody would have expected if you go back 6 weeks.
You can see a lot of barbecue over the weekend. These guys are juiced up. And coming up next, it's Soapbox, so buckle up. Welcome back to the Unscripted Couch. Time for Soapbox. It's a Ryan Mink special, a chance to step up in front of our main camera and wax poetic about anything that has this group really passionate when it comes to the Ravens. And first up is Ryan Mink.
I'm not poetic, though.
Oh, don't say yourself short. Oh, yeah, and just a healthy reminder for the audience, it's 30 seconds. I do have a ding here that'll allow you.
Am I allowed to start waxing poetically
go ahead.
or what? All right, so I'm going to say the Ravens need offensive playmakers to make plays. You watch the Chiefs. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill on one leg, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you have to tip your cap to them, but at the same time, it makes you say, where's the Ravens playmakers at? I mean, right now you would think with a strong running game, you'd be able to hit some shots over the top, but I haven't seen John Brown make a lot of plays recently. I haven't seen Crabtree. Chris Moore didn't make that play in the end zone when he could have. The Ravens need to find more playmakers.
Off the stage. Well done, Ryan Mink. One question. How often do you actually tip your cap? Like, do you have one?
When you have hair like this, you probably know this, you don't wear a cap.
You're right. It has to take sub temperatures, freezing temperatures. All right, next up, Luke.
All right.
Here we go, Luke.
Feel like I need the Ray Lewis. The Ray Lewis
3, 2, and 1.
Talking about the Ravens running game, controlling the clock, extending drives, keeping the defense the opposing offense off the field. You have to finish those drives, though. Ravens did a better job in Kansas City, but they've been right around 50% since they've revamped their running game, revamped their offense. They need to finish drives. I don't want to see Justin Tucker 35-yard field goals down the stretch. And on the flip side, this defense has been terrific in nearly every category, but 25th in red zone defense. They need to cover tight ends and can't let them blow up the game.
I like this. He's walking and talking.
As I finished, right.
I like it.
I'm a radio guy.
Yeah.
30 seconds.
All right, Garrett, close us out. Strong.
Here's what I think. This Ravens defense checks a lot of boxes. They've been a great defense for most of the season. They went into last week's game first in scoring, first in yards allowed. But what they still need to do is find ways to close out games. 4th and 9 at the end of the game. They had 2 fourth down plays on that final drive of regulation, and they could not get off the field. This has been kind of the Achilles heel. Last year it happened against the Bengals. 2 years ago it happened against the Steelers. It happened again in Kansas City. This defense is really good, but to be great, they need to find ways to close out games.
Bro.
Right on time. Right on time.
You can tell he's done this before. I hear, is that a final drive? He's getting
That was a final drive.
Yeah, that was a final drive. And that's brought to you by. Well done. Well done. I don't even know what you guys were talking about there, but it looked cool. Usually this time of the show, we'll touch on predictions, maybe something we think we'll see or these guys think they'll see in the game, but quarterback talk. We've kind of put it to this side. Look, Lamar's a bit banged up with the ankle. Joe is cleared but didn't dress. If all is equal, who do you think should start?
So you're saying if Lamar is healthy and Joe's healthy?
Or healthy enough to
I
be
think
effective.
if both are healthy, then I think Lamar should start, and I think Lamar will start. I don't think that the Ravens are going to abandon a formula that won them 3 straight games and nearly beat the AFC's best team. So that's what I expect. But the question is, if Lamar's not healthy, which we don't know right now. You know, I think John Harbaugh's going to have more fun this week playing to the uncertainty of the quarterback situation because now he's got a new injury. Now it's, well, Joe's healthy, but we don't know what Lamar's going to do. So, you know, it really, I think, depends. Do you want Lamar at 90% to start? You know, are you okay with him starting at 75%? I don't know.
I think there's so much unknown with your veteran quarterback right now. How healthy is he going to be? He's healthy enough to play, but how mobile will he be? How fresh will he be? What will that running game look like that's fired into such a high gear? But I'll say this. I think Lamar Jackson should continue to be the quarterback, but this is unconventional. It's weird. No other team in the league's doing this. Don't dismiss the notion of Joe Flacco being involved in some capacity with this offense.
And Garrett, feel free to take this wherever you want, but I'm very curious. Could you expect or predict to see a situation where Joe is in uniform with a helmet on, but not the starting quarterback for this team?
Yes. Yeah, I could. I think that if Joe Flacco is healthy, you put him as your backup quarterback. I mean, that would be what I think what the Ravens would do. I think it goes back to your original question. All things being equal, from a health standpoint, I think that I agree with Ryan that Lamar has shown me enough that based on the way that this team is constructed, he gives you the best chance to win. Now, so if that's the case, then how do you use Joe? Do you just completely have Lamar play every snap? Do you find ways to get him on the field? I do think that there's opportunities for that. I mean, RG3 ran a couple.
Joe's that kind of quarterback.
No, it's not. No, Joe, he's not. Now you would put Joe.
Like that. Yeah, he's not going to like that.
I mean, obviously, Joe believes that he should be the starting quarterback. There's no question about that. But I do think that there's potential to get get both guys on the field. I don't think it would be like the first 9 games where Lamar was running 10 to 15 plays potentially. It may just be spotty.
Here's the question. If the Ravens are in a, let's say they have to go and win the game like they were in overtime against KC, and let's say they had even a little less time where they couldn't run the ball and run that offense, who would you rather have back there to lead them to a victory, comeback victory, Joe or Lamar?
Well, that's
in an obvious passing situation, I still think that Joe is their best quarterback. So that means if they get behind and down distance, they have a holding penalty like Ronnie Stanley's did, that really kills this offense and Lamar. And that's a situation where you'd like to have Joe come in, I would, ideally, and be able to take over an obvious passing situation.
And he's done very well in the hurry up in the past. Maybe it's not just at the end of the game. Maybe it's just you're throwing a wrinkle in the same way that they tried to with Lamar Jackson earlier in the season. Maybe not to that same degree, but maybe you do throw a wrinkle in there from time to time.
It's a good discussion. Another fun week of mystery here in Baltimore. Coming up next, it's issue or non-issue. Welcome back to Unscripted. Time for the final segment of the show. It's issue or non-issue. I'll present some questions related to the Ravens and this team and where they are right now, and the panel will tell me if it's an issue or non-issue. First up, this cornerback group, guys, is injured, banged up. Marlon Humphrey and Tavon Young did not finish the Chiefs game. Issue or non-issue, Ryan, we'll start with you. This secondary now.
I think it is an issue. I mean, I do think that the Ravens have more cornerback depth than they've had in recent years. You can plug some guys in there. Anthony Averett, the rookie. You have Kennedy that you can stick in there. But, you know, I think that Marlon has been their best cornerback of the year. So if he's not able to play, and Tavon's been a scrappy, good slot corner, if they're not able to play, that's an issue.
Saints, Panthers, and Sunday in Kansas City, Marlon Humphrey either out or severely limited. All losses for the Ravens.
And you got a good passing game, but get the Bucs coming in town. So issue, I agree, if Marlon Humphrey can't play.
All right, let's keep blowing through these. Next up, first-round pick, Hayden Hurst performance this season. 7 catches, 82 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 catches against the Chiefs, Garrett.
I think it's an issue. I mean, the Ravens drafted him to be an immediate impact player because they had a need at tight end. The Ravens have not even really been targeting him in recent games. He has not been involved in the offense. They need him to be a bigger piece. And I think that, to your point earlier, you need offensive playmakers. You have your first-round pick. That's what you need to get out of these guys.
Yeah, you want to get some return out of your first-round pick, and knowing that Lamar Jackson, where he is as a passer at this stage of his career, tight ends in the middle of the field, you'd love to get a return. And in the big picture, this guy's a first-round pick. You don't want him thinking all offseason about what is looking like it could be kind of a lost first year.
Totally. In this offense where you're not hitting a lot of big plays to your wide receivers because of Lamar Jackson where he's at right now, like you said, tight ends are even more important. I think that he could be a difference maker. All
right, last up, we've talked a lot about Lamar Jackson. We're going to talk about him some more here. You've touched on the game-winning drive ability. Issue or non-issue that he hasn't, at least at the moment, shown the ability in game-winning drives to march down the field. Luke, first up.
I think it has to be an issue. He's a rookie, 4 starts into his NFL career. We've seen him run a couple 2-minute drills, first half in Atlanta, which it was kind of ugly, but they still got points. So it's an issue because they haven't shown an ability to push the ball down the field through the air in the way you need to, but I also expect there to be improvement. He's going to get better, but it's an issue for right now.
I think it's a non-issue. I'm not really worried about how he does. I think if you have 90 seconds to win a game, that's a tough assignment. But I think that his ability to be poised and be in high-pressure situations and finish drives, even that short touchdown drive like he did late in the game, I'm not worried about Lamar's ability to be clutch.
Lastly?
I think issue if he gets in an obvious passing situation right now.
All right, well, that'll do it for this episode of Ravens Unscripted. Thanks to the guys for stopping by. Remember, there are tickets still available for this Sunday's game against the Tampa Bay Bucs. You go to BaltimoreRavens.com/tickets. We'll see you right back here on the Unscripted couch next week. Enjoy the game, everybody.